I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through? For you, 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 won't you let the light shine through? In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through? For you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you,
Hello everybody and welcome into Tuesday Night Thunder. It's playoff time here in Season 4. Joining me in the booth as always here tonight, Dawson Wise. I'm Austin Green. Dawson, how you feeling here tonight?
Feeling good, man. It's playoff racing. We had a good one last week, and boy, we got a tight point situation tonight. A lot on the line for 16 of these guys on track.
Looking forward to it. Of course, I've been out a couple weeks. Work schedule's been a little brutal, but nonetheless, excited to be back here tonight. And with qualifying complete, let's get right down trackside and take a look at your starting grid. Garrett Maines takes the pole. He will roll off tonight, put down a 50.361. He is your first playoff driver in the field. Andrew Navarro will roll off second. Kevin McCullough Jr. back in third. Matt Lee in fourth. Michael Triscaro will roll off fifth. J.R. Miller in sixth. Matthew Baker back in seventh. Jeff Merck in eighth, with Mike Davenport in ninth and Mark Vondell rounding out your top 10.
Chris McCullough will start from 11th position with Jason Maines to his outside. That's two playoff drivers. Another one behind him, Jared Haynes. He needs a good run tonight from 13th. It'll be Landon Velicky starting from 14th tonight. Row 8 to be Joe Huerta of KSR and Dylan Jones in the 11. Row 9 starting 17th to be Logan York in the 02. Nash Brambilla of PGR in 18th. And rounding out the top 20, Trevor Oswanoth and Justin Mills.
Moving on back to 21st, it's going to be Brock Westmoreland, Sean Corbett in 22nd, and Jimmy Emos will round out the field tonight as he will roll off from that 23rd position. All right, let's look at your race info breakdown real quick. We are at Daytona International Speedway here tonight. Not the usual Talladega, so a couple things different. But before we get into that, weather outside, 72 degrees, 45% humidity, cloudy skies, overcast conditions, and winds at 1 mile an hour. Daytona Super Speedway, Daytona International Speedway, a little different, a little bit more narrow, but the biggest difference is length. A bit shorter than Talladega, 2.5 miles instead of course, that 2.65 miles. Still high banking in the corners, over 30 degrees, and it is race 13 here. Again, I believe, Dawson, correct me if I'm wrong, I know I missed last week, but should be the second race. And I know we're, of course, still in the round of 16 here. Second race in the round of 16, that is. And that, of course, being race 13. 75 laps the distance here tonight, 40% fuel, unlimited tires, no fast repair, fixed setups. And then we do have a stage break at the end of lap 20. That's the other difference you might have noticed there, of course, that the race length a little bit longer tonight at 75 laps. All right, time to get this thing rolling. So before we do, Dawson, we have a pretty good idea of what points are looking like. We've got them set up. I know you're going to be talking about them a lot throughout the night, but just for everybody watching at home, best way to notice it is look on the scoring tower. Any driver that you see has a P next to their name, that is a driver that is currently in the round of 16. They will also have a round of 16 badge or little subheading, if you will, on their driver card, which you'll see as we go to the field. Okay, here we go. Pace car works its way onto the pits for the first time here tonight. Green flag in the air. We're underway at Daytona.
Halfway down the backstretch, it's a double file battle. It looked like Garrett Maines was going to really control this race early on, but the top lane started to surge in the middle of the back straightaway, and now as they reach turn number 4, they're up to full song, and it's about 5 rows deep, and it's really all playoff drivers. About 1 through 12 on the racetrack right now is all drivers in the playoff field. Every point matters. Garrett Maines, give him another one right there. He leads lap 1. Andrew Navarro to his outside. Both guys came into tonight pretty well off in points, but always could use another good run.
2 races here tonight, the race to lap 20 and then the race to lap 75. Right now, the race is on for those bonus points that you can get, of course, by being that stage winner. Still side by side off of turn 2 onto the Daytona Super Stretch. Garrett Maines leads on the inside. Andrew Navarro leads on the outside. And I'll tell you what, not much snaking around. I think the cooler conditions right now are helping people out. You notice the track temp there, 72 degrees. And so again, it's going to take quite a bit, I think, to get that third lane working. You're going to have to wait till both the inside and the middle lanes start to get hot, and then you're going to have to make sure that you've got more than enough help if you want to get that third lane to surge. But right now, I think everybody's still getting comfortable. 2x2, the Xfinity cars, one of the few things that it feels like didn't change that much during the update. And so far tonight, the racing as good as it's been all season. Everybody's still double file as they work their way through 1 and 2.
That's what I was just going to get at, is that the racing's been good all season long in these cars. It's been incredible to watch these guys battle these race cars all season. It's been some of the best racing, and now we're going to get even more racing. To the outside, Michael Triscaro, what a surge from the 34. Man, he came out of nowhere, shot out of a cannon. He's side by side for the lead, up the banking in 3 and 4. And look behind him, Matthew Baker. He locked in the round of 8 last week. He's trying now to get Triscaro and Merck in. What a way to start, as Triscaro might get himself a lap led here at the line.
And I'll tell you what, I said I didn't know how well that third lane was going to work. I wasn't considering how good it would work if you had Matthew Baker as the lead pusher. A lot of progress as they now fan out 3 by 3 as they work their way into turn number 1. Also, notice all the yellow playoff banners. That helps you also kind of get an idea of who's up here racing in the playoffs and who isn't. Of course, some drivers don't have it. One of those being Matt Lee, who, remember, wasn't looking like he was going to make it into the playoffs, but with the win and you're in setup that we had, the format, if you will, this season, Lee was able to find himself in victory lane as we started to near the end of the regular season. And as a result, he finds himself here in the round of 16, looking to compete for a chance to make it to the round of 8. Navarro works his way up. Michael Triscaro still leading the top. It looks like Baker's going to drop down, and that third lane is going to die out.
It doesn't last long here. You have to get it done quickly. They came from a ways back as well, about 5-6 rows deep in the field. By the time you wind that run up, it's pretty well gone. The temps are gone, and you're not able to gain very much once you get up alongside the leaders. If you can't get that first car clear, you're not going to get anybody clear. You're going to shuffle back in and try it again in a moment because of the quality of the pushes that are up front right now. It's been how it is all season. It is how it is again for Merck, Triscaro, and Baker, who have to settle in behind the leaders. Michael Triscaro, though, did gain a crucial lap-led point right there. So big time for the 34s. He closes to within 3 points of the cut line, running right now in the 8th position on the racetrack.
Dashboard speeds right there showed about 192, 93 miles an hour into turn 3. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, it's weird because this is the first broadcast I've been back for the Xfinity cars, but I've seen the new trucks with their update, and, a lot faster now. They actually run fast in these Xfinity cars. So, I know these guys have a chance to run this series each and every week, but most of the other money racing series, if you will, that we see, they're in the trucks. So how do you kind of almost make that adjustment going from how difficult the trucks are to handle back to these Xfinity cars, which seem to have stayed the same?
I mean, they're a little bit closer to similar now. They're obviously not the same, but I think they closed that gap a little bit with this new update. They took some downforce out of the truck. It's a little bit harder to drive like these cars are. These cars don't have a lot of downforce either. They kind of slide around. You're going a similar speed. They don't drive the same. Again, by no means are they the same, but they at least close that gap a little bit so the adjustment is less. But, man, these are a special car in their own right. They don't drive very well at all. You have to really work the wheel. It's a tough adjustment, and we've seen some guys suffer at times this season from maybe having the same mindset as if they're still in the truck. And sometimes it can harm them, but so far so good up front at least. Everybody seems to be settled in pretty well.
They certainly do. They were 3 wide, filling up most of the racetrack. Again, it's a lot more narrow here at Daytona than it is at Talladega. 3 wide, 3 wide would be the equivalence of 4 wide at Talladega, but here at Daytona again. And so 2x2 up front. Maines Navarro still the class of the field. Been that way for most of the night. Lee had some laps led himself. Christopher McCullough on the 94 doing some pushing on the inside. Jason Maines, he's made his way up here as well. And then you've got the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr., kind of the first car. And I'm not going to call it a second group yet, but certainly these guys seem like they're fading back here for a moment. Not sure if they're gearing up for a run. Ooh, Christopher McCullough. Big moment for the 94. I'm not sure what happened, but as that car unloaded off of the banking of the tri-oval, I'm not sure if he got some help or just got loose. That was a big moment. Jason Maines had to check up to allow him to save it, and now that stirred up some momentum in the back. Here comes a run. Third lane, it's Jeff Merck looking up top.
It's about the third time that these two have tried this. This time still not looking too productive, although this time he's going to almost get clear on the bumper of Matt Lee. Not quite. They're going to have to stick up there, but here comes Michael Triscaro. Here comes the cavalry. Does he jump up there? Nope, going to leave him a spot to fade back down. They're all going to get back in line in behind J.R. Miller, another guy who kind of needs a good run. He's 5 points above the cut line coming into the night. He's running in a good spot right now, so too Chris McCullough, as of right now, would be the second guy out should the race end right this second. Guys looking to play spoiler are here early in the going, running up 3rd and 5th in the running order, but so far nobody's been able to even touch the 44, the 1.
Well, I know I said, Dawson, that, I missed a couple weeks, of course, missing the regular season finale, which Matthew Baker, of course, was your regular season champion, and then missing that first race of the playoffs. Now, we're still in the round of 16, but I was looking at points working into tonight, and I think the biggest and maybe the most pleasant surprise coming into this playoffs was Jared Haynes, who just snuck in that 16th spot. But, didn't sneak in that 16th spot. Currently sits in that 16th spot, but got in 13th. So that was one of those drivers coming into the season I feel like a lot of people didn't have on their radar. But Jared, he came to play, and he's been consistent all season. He may not have teammates, but he's found a way to make it work so far. And I look to see him go pretty deep and potentially fight for a championship in this playoffs.
Yeah, he needs a good run tonight, though. He's 12 points below the line. He's currently sitting towards the tail end of this lead group, so he's hanging around, waiting for the right moment, but he needs a good run tonight. Obviously, being 12 points out might be more by the time the stage comes to an end as well. Stage points, by the way, still given out tonight. Five to the winner, 4 to second, and so on, so forth through fifth. So Haynes could find himself in almost a must-win position. He needs to get up front. He needs to get up front quickly, I think. He needs a good run tonight.
It only takes one move, and that move's just got to be on the last lap. Don't count Jared Haynes out. I've got him as the dark horse pick here tonight, but 11 laps complete, and still got the cream of the crop up front right now. But Christopher McCullough, he wants to take a peek for the lead on the inside as Jeff Merck made a move up top with Matthew Baker, Michael Triscaro, as that is the NBG trio running together. That team kind of got reformed up here this season after a lot of guys that left, a lot of guys that kind of joined. Well, not a lot of guys that joined. Of course, Michael Triscaro tagging onto that team this season. And then Jeff Merck hanging with NBG. Matthew Baker, one of the original captains of the team. And then you got Jimmy Emos here in the 98. He's looking to make an impressive run. That's one of the non-playoff drivers. But, again, there is still a top 4 payout here tonight, and that goes for anyone. So you got to make moves where you can get him. 98, though, doesn't look like he is going to get any help right here. So he's going to fade back, and he'll drop in line just behind Matthew Baker. Nope, it's going to continue to fall to the back. 12 laps complete. Now the pit stop here, 40% fuel, Dawson. When do you think these guys are coming in? I think it's any lap from now.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be any moment now, and it's the only stop, but it's a little bit different than when the stages are 20 laps because you might be taking a little bit more fuel. You might be also, you're running some more laps on the tail end, allows some more time for that, the field to redevelop after the pit stop and kind of end the stage. In the past, we've kind of seen 6 cars drive away, and then they're gone. There's not enough time to catch them, and the 4 laps left in the stage tonight. Going to be about 10 laps to go after this pit stop. It's going to allow for a lot more development, a lot more kind of regathering of the field, if you will, and kind of give a lot of these guys, most of them playoff guys up here, by the way, a chance to really gain some points and kind of get themselves back in the fight. So interesting pit stop coming up in the next probably 2 to 3 laps, I'd say.
Certainly will be interesting indeed. And I took a brief look at the track map right there, and you notice that it is all still one giant pack. Nobody has really fallen out of this race, although Trevor Oswanoff has fallen a lap down. So not sure what the issues were for the 89, but as long as he can survive till this stage break here in about 7 laps or so, then he'll be okay. He'll get that lap back and be right back in it. But I'm looking around here too, and I know it's not as big of a field as we were used to seeing during the regular season, and that's of course the idea that once you're not going to make the playoffs, you're not going to be eligible for any bonus money anymore, only the weekly payout. So a lot of guys decide to just take it home and start getting ready for next season. But, the aggression level, it's been kind of fluctuating up and down. You can definitely tell that everybody's trying to get a feel for what you can and can't do. And I think the biggest question is still how well this third lane works. We've seen a couple glimpses, and the runs are certainly doable up there, but you said it earlier, Dawson, and that's the fact that it just doesn't last long. You got to make it happen quick. So I think maybe that's part of the reason that we've seen everybody kind of double back down for now. And then with this pit stop coming up in just a lap or two, couple laps, I think that's why you're starting to see a couple guys file down to the inside. You can pit from the outside, but it's not the preferred lane to do so. It's easy to get caught in a mess. Does anybody pit this lap? No, they don't. They'll stay out yet again, and that'll make us 15 laps complete as we cross the line this time.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of fluctuated. It kind of started very fast and furious. You saw Matt Lee making moves to get to the front. You saw Michael Triscaro making moves to get to the front. A lot of guys, and you kind of saw where, the playoff guys' mindset was early in this race, at least the guys that are below the cut line. Triscaro, Lee, Chris McCullough, even further back, Mike Davenport hasn't really been in the lead or the lead conversation per se, but he currently runs in the 10th position. He's hanging around those guys below the cut line know they need to run well. They know they need to run up front. And so far, all of them have done so. All of them are putting themselves in a position to get up front. So it has fluctuated, but now you can tell pit stops are coming. The aggression is, well, it comes out because here comes the first group.
Yep, Jimmy Emos already was in the pits. That's what we were just looking at. But here you go, the first group, and it is a whole bunch of them. Everybody looks like they're going to get in clean. Matthew Baker, Christopher McCullough let him in. Then you've got Michael Triscaro, Ken McCullough Jr. behind. Jeff Merck, the one of Joe Herta, the 62 in as well. I think that's Landon Valecki. And so Dylan Jones, he's going to make his stop. Mark Fondell comes in a little bit late. Sean Corbett's in. I think Trevor Osnoth may have brought it down as well, so we'll see how these guys all shuffle out here. Ken McCullough Jr. is actually going to win the race out of pit road. Christopher McCullough files in just behind him. Matthew Baker a little bit further back, but he should hang with the draft. These guys need to get organized, and they need to get organized quick because the first group, as they work off turn 4, getting ready to see if they come down this time. Sure enough, here they come. Matt Lee, J.R. Miller, and the rest of them.
Couple of them awfully hot, getting in 3 wide amongst the leaders. 3 wide further back as well. Almost 3 rows deep, but 3 wide here onto pit road. Busy, busy place. The second of the 2 groups is in, and now begins the race for stage points. This is what's going to be so interesting about this cycle because this could completely flip the playoff battle on its head. If Kenny McCullough, Chris McCullough, and a couple of those cars, Jeff Merck, Michael Triscaro get stage points, that would be massive to the playoff picture of the second stage because that would make this playoff cut line a really close call. Great pit stop by the second group. Very organized as they hit the banking in 1.
And watching from the spectator view, here comes that group that pit early. They just now crossed the start-finish line. These guys still get up to speed, but it's not Talladega, so the apron here at Daytona is a lot flatter. Takes a little bit longer to get up to speed. You can't quite match the gas all the way. But, man, I don't know, that second group, they did a pretty good job here. Matthew Baker just now roaring his way off of turn 2. I don't know, Dawson. This is going to be close on whether or not they'll catch him. Looks like there's a couple bridge cars in between. I think they're going to. And, oh, man, this is going to set us up for an exciting couple of laps. Right now, though, it is Garrett Maines, Matt Lee in charge. Here comes J.R. Miller, Mike Davenport. They're going to look to the outside in turn 4.
J.R. Miller could really use this point. He's sitting currently 4 points above the cut line. If he can get a point right here, you don't really breathe much easier, but at least he helps your case a little bit. Give it to him at the line. J.R. Miller picks up a point for leading a lap. And again, I'm mentioning that because we have about 9 to 10 drivers within single digits of each other around the cut line. For J.R. Miller, that was a massive potential extra point that could be the difference between his season ending tonight or continuing on to next week.
I'm holding my breath here for these next 2 laps, Dawson. I mean, this is getting ready to get really crazy. You can see they're already 2 wide, and that second group's there. They have arrived with a huge run. Ken McCullough Jr., Christopher McCullough, Matthew Baker, where are they going to go? Do they look to the third? Yes, they do. Into turn 3, Ken McCullough Jr. is going to jump high. The run wasn't quite there. That's going to open the door for anybody in this middle line to try to throw a block if they want. Nobody throwing that move just yet. Going to be coming to 19 laps to go. That'll be 2 to go in the stage. I said 19 to go. Going to be coming to 19 complete. 18, there we go, 19 complete, 2 to go in the stage. And it is Ken McCullough Jr. on the outside, Garrett Maines in the middle, and Matt Lee on the inside.
Kenny McCullough, another guy this would be a big point for up on the outside. The Burger King Toyota Supra, he really could use a point for leading a lap here. Do they have enough temp to get him the point? Brock Westerland says, I'm out of here. So too does NASCAR Brambilla. And quite frankly, I don't blame them for where they are in points right now. They're going to back out of this. And boy, I tell you, this is a hornet's nest. They're probably the smarter ones. Man, these guys, can they keep it together for the end of the stage?
Got really, really tight right there between Matt Lee and a couple others. Oh, hold on, Jason Maines. He's off. Fire out of the pipes as he gets out of the throttle, but he's going to hold on. White flag is in the air for stage 1. Who's going to get back to the checkers first?
Well, I don't know. The McCullough run has kind of fell apart in the outside lane up against the safer barrier. J.R. Miller says, I'll take that, thank you very much. He jumps to the middle with Matthew Baker. Logan York, where did he come from? The blue and black 02 flashes through the field. Now he's P5. Logan York, he's looking to steal some points here at the tail end of the stage.
Well, he's got 2 corners and a short chute left to do it. I don't know if he's going to have enough time. Garrett Maines starts to push ahead now. He's going to look for a move to the top. That'll give Matt Lee the opportunity on the bottom. A push from Michael Triscaro. It's going to come down to a drag race all the way to the start-finish line. Lee now with the advantage. No run from the outside. Matt Lee takes stage 1 at Daytona.
Or does he?
Well, caution, you would expect her to come out in just about a lap unless Now, hold on just a minute. Let me go back and check this here. Now, 75 laps. I was used to the normal format, and I thought it was lap 20 here tonight. Maybe it's not. And it is not. It's lap 25, so I want an extra 5 here tonight with the extension. So, well, tell you what, Dawson, if they're staying this aggressive, and we still got 4 to go in the stage, I'm nervous if we're going to make it or not, because they're back to 3 wide. Ken McCullough Jr. is wiggling all over the place. Garrett's back to the bottom, but I guess that would make sense in the sense of I was getting ready to say I can't believe Garrett jumped up when he did. Just not a move we would expect for him in that scenario, but that certainly would explain why. And now it's going to officially be 4 to go on the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And, oh, man, if these guys are this aggressive already, I mean, the stage ending is going to be insane, considering some of the names up there. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but look, Michael Triscaro, J.R. Miller, Mike Davenport, Logan York, kinda. I mean, he's in a pretty good spot, but several of these guys need stage points. It's not like Matthew Baker and Garrett Maines. They just want some stage points. They just want to continue the momentum. Matt Lee, he could really use stage points as well. Guys below the cut line could shake this entire thing up. That's why Matt Lee is racing as hard as he is. Garrett Maines, my goodness, floating way up the racetrack off 4. He's half a lane up there.
Yeah, Lee's hoping he hears me make the same announcement that I just did a couple laps ago here in a few laps from now. And he's out in front. He's got Matthew Baker on his inside. J.R. Miller, the lead pusher in that middle line. And then up top, you still got a couple of guys trying to make it work, and it is 2 of the McCullough Motorsports boys, Christopher and Ken. Christopher doing all the pushing right now. Jason Maines looks like he's recovered after going off. And well, we had a couple of really close calls there, but it looks like for now, the 3 wide action simmers down, at least at the front of the field. I'm telling you, though, Ken McCullough Jr. and Christopher McCullough, they're staying out, not because I necessarily think they think it's going to work. I think they're staying out here, Dawson, because they want to attract a couple other takers. They can get 2 or 3 more cars up there, then all of a sudden that third lane's going to get rolling again.
Yeah, they're trying, but they haven't gotten the commitment that they would have liked, I don't think. And I'm kind of surprised, considering guys that really could use the stage points are kind of logged back where they're not going to get any right now. Jeff Merck is way off this lead draft. Jason Maines could use some stage points. And here come 2 of the others. Kenny and Chris McCullough, they decide now's the time to go. And again, 2 guys that could really shake up the makeup of this second stage in terms of points are up on the outside now. Here comes Jason Maines. He says, I'm joining the party this time. 3 wide, 3 rows deep, in the middle has fallen apart, headed for turn 3. Kenny McCullough may be the leader by the time we get to the front stretch.
Matthew Baker is in no man's land right now. Michael Triscaro looking to put a move here on Garrett Maines. Nothing doing there as he faked high and back low. He's going to try it again. Garrett looks for another block as we're going to have a couple peel off out back. Short pitting, but we'll keep it up front because this is now officially the white flag here in stage number 1. Ken McCullough Jr. leads. Oh, one of them off.
It was Michael Triscaro.
It's Michael Triscaro in the 34. He went for a ride, but he's able to get back on track. 3 wide, he'll recover as we got a couple more on the apron. But up front, Garrett Maines is looking for another move. Who is Matthew Baker going to go with?
Oh, he thought about it. You could tell he was thinking one way, thinking the other way. He goes with Garrett Maines. They've got a 3rd car there, Chris McCullough as well. Kenny gets turned right in front of the field. He's going to go around.
Through the grass. Hold on to it, Ken. Hold on to it. He's got the brakes locked up. Oh, big hit for the 03 as he comes back up the racetrack. Huge hit on the apron. Nash Brambilla had a huge collision. I couldn't tell who that was with. The 23, though. I think it may not have been Nash. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. Somebody hit huge on the apron. We'll get back to that in just a moment. Ken McCullough Jr., though, destroyed the front end, completely torn off for the 03, and it looks as if Garrett Maines is going to be declared your Stage 1 winner. Well, we were afraid of that, Dawson, and the big one, they were playing with fire for a while. It was just a matter of time, and boy, Ken, he was trying to get this thing slowed up enough, but when you go off at that late on the backstretch, that sharp of an angle, especially in the grass where it feels like an ice rink, just nothing you can do here. And you see he's doing everything. He's got the wheel locked left. He's on the brakes. And he's just hoping this thing will get slowed up enough that by the time he gets back on the apron here, he can keep it on the apron. But just too much speed. Car goes up the banking here. And then there's the onrushing 62 of Landon Valecki, who had absolutely nowhere to go, just piles in. And then, so it was actually, I think it was Landon then who actually got on the apron here. And I'm looking back. Yeah, it was Nash Brambilla who hit him, so I was correct on that. That was a huge hit, as Brambilla actually was out of the mix here and was just going to avoid all the chaos, and instead he gets involved. Let's go back, though, and actually break down first what kind of sparked this wreck in terms of what got Ken out of line. Dawson, what did you see here from your view?
Last lap stage aggression. I'll go back and take another look at it, but it just looked to me like they all kind of came together. It was a scramble. After Triscaro got bumped out of line, everybody was kind of figuring out, okay, where do I want to go? Baker goes high, and as Navarro tries to square up with Kenny, I think he's going to maybe give him a push. Maybe Kenny comes up trying to side draft, or let me see here. Oh, yeah, Navarro offset a little bit, at least in my view, hammers him, trying to get him forward. That doesn't work in this car.
That's the key word right there, I think, is that he hammered him. I mean, you know, he wasn't offset by much, so you figure if he just gives him a slight tap there, I think they get away with it, or maybe it's not enough, but when you hit him that hard, there's a chance it might be lifting the rear tires off the ground just a little bit. Point is, it gets the back of that car unstable, and there's just nothing Ken McCullough Jr. can do. He gets into Baker here. He's trying to save it, but it's going to shoot that car back towards the grass. Navarro's able to miss him the second time. And then let's go to the cockpit view here for Ken McCullough Jr. here, and watch as he tries to get this car woed down, just can't in time, and big hits that are going to follow after. So there's the push that turns him into Matthew Baker. I mean, they're lucky this was not a lot worse than it was for the field, but then I'll tell you what, I wonder if Ken rolled out of the brakes there at the end, maybe it would have helped him out a little bit. When those front tires are locked up, doesn't matter how much you turn the wheel, the car's not going to turn. But just trying to scrub off as much speed as he could, and then at this point, he's in no man's land again. It's just straight up the track, and boom, gets clobbered by Valecki, who had absolutely nowhere to go either. Now, interestingly enough, though, for the 62, he was pretty far behind, but I think he is going to commit to a lane here. Yeah, he was far behind, but he never saw this 03. He gets in the blind spot of that pillar there on the left side of the windshield, and, I mean, when he's able to see him again, Dawson, there's just absolutely nothing he can do. It's pretty much a complete blindside hit here. I think Landon actually starts to realize, where's the 03? I don't see him. And just as he bails out of the throttle, all of a sudden, he comes right back into view. And then watch this hit on the apron. Boom! Huge collision for Nash Brambilla, who was trying to sneak through it, but instead got himself involved in it here. Watch this a couple more times. That's a big, big hit. It's almost like he slightly net-coated through him, which, I mean, may have saved him a little bit, I guess, but overall, that's major damage for the 23. And for the 62, the 03, I think definitely still getting the worst of it. As Brambilla, the hood pops back on, so who knows? Maybe he gets away with one there. Point being, though, stage one is complete. And by the way, and showing you one more replay here, who was leading at the time of the stage? There you go, Garrett Maines. He's out in front at the time of caution. So he is your stage winner. Matthew Baker thought about making a move, realized caution was out. No point in trying anything further. All right, so as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, Jeff Merck is going to line up as the leader here for the restart. Garrett Maines in second. Andrew Navarro back in third. Christopher McCullough fourth. Jason Maines in fifth. You got Logan York back in sixth, up 11 positions from where he started from. Make it 12 now as Michael Triscaro sits back in seventh. Matt Lee eighth. J.R. Miller ninth. And Mike Davenport rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, interesting development in terms of the playoffs, and I'm going to have to start to get the calculator out here. If Nash Brambilla, if he's going to indeed call it a night, which he is multiple laps down, he was one of the drivers in the postseason. He was +1 as my calculations went right there at the end of the stage. And that completely changes the complexion of the point standings if he's indeed going to call it a night. I mean, he hasn't left pit road yet, already several laps down. Kenny McCullough, same thing. Kenny McCullough was 7 points out. That's two guys potentially eliminated in that wreck right there at the end of the stage.
And it's weird, too, because it doesn't look that beat up. Well, no, Ken McCullough Jr., he doesn't even – the right front wheel is completely missing from that car. But for Nash Brambilla, his damage wasn't that – or didn't look that bad, at least where he sits on the pits right now. But he did take a big hit, so you wonder if the damage is internal potentially to the engine, and potentially that's what could be the night ender. Ken McCullough Jr., no chance that car is getting repaired. He's going to be done for the night. As we get ready to go back to green flag racing, 29 laps complete, and the final stage is underway at Daytona.
And what a final stage it's going to be with all that's on the line right now. So much on the line for these drivers, and so so much still to be decided. Again, about 10 guys within single digits. In fact, that number just went up. I believe it's now 12 of our 16 are within single digits of each other. One bad move, your season could be over, but one right move, you could entirely change the complexion of the end of your season. Incredible stuff ahead. Garrett Maines, though, he's been untouchable tonight so far. Pretty much a flawless effort from a guy who pretty much was already locked in as of tonight. The guys behind him, though, very much not locked in. Here comes Chris McCullough, Logan York, and Michael Triscaro, and J.R. Miller looking to shake the playoff situation on its head.
Speaking of shaking up the playoff situation, I'm interested to see how many pit stops we're going to have during the stage. It's going to be quite a few. At least a couple, I guess I should say, maybe 3. And depending on how many we have, that's another thing that's going to play into these, potentially how this thing ends up. But right now, Christopher McCullough and Logan York, oh man, pushing that envelope a little too far. Just as I was getting ready to say they're working pretty good together, all of a sudden that connection went sour and Christopher McCullough gets shoved up, able to keep it out of the outside wall though into turn 1. He's able to get back down in line by the time they get to turn number 3. Logan York continues on, and I tell you what, that probably made Christopher McCullough's heart skip a beat.
Yeah, considering where he's at in the playoff situation right now, I'd say so. It would have made mine skip a beat, I could tell you that much. And you see how much it kind of made the field think about what we're doing here. Everybody is starting to file in single file. All of a sudden, we've gone from 2 and 3 wide in the first stage to we're going to relax for a little bit here in stage number 2.
Speaking of relax, how about the onboard view here for Matthew Baker tonight? He's got the sunglasses on. We're not playing poker, but Baker's keeping the swagger nonetheless. He's got the sunglasses on. He's also got the hat, the rally cap, we'll call it. The point is, Matthew Baker, he's looking locked in, but also looking pretty relaxed right now as he runs in that 9th position. Inside the top 10, it's been an up and down night in terms of being in the top 5. But still, I think he's right where he wants to be as he continues to try to work with a couple different guys on that outside line. It's just as you said, things were calming down, Dawson. They quickly get back to 2x2 off of turn 4 and shouldn't be surprised because Logan York is the man leading the charge on the outside. Here he comes, looking to lead his first lap of the night. Not quite going to do it that time, but the O2 does surge ahead as they go down to turn number 1. They'll climb the 30-plus degree banking. Jeff Merck will try to fight back on the inside, but how about 2x2 through the first 6 rows now?
Yeah, let me just kind of contextualize this for you all right now, at least based on my live points. And again, this could be completely wrong. I do this every season. I haven't had an issue yet, but tonight's been very confusing. Logan York, as of right now, is +9. He's about to lead a lap. That would make him +10. Triscaro up here is -2. Davenport's -3. I mean, you got guys all over the place in points. Miller +4. Merck -6. All kinds of strategies. He's going to take it upstairs. Logan York, no mercy, no quarter tonight for the 0-2. Jeff Merck's going to the back of the sucker hole.
Well, if that doesn't tell you how bad Logan York wants that extra point, I know what does. He just split Jeff Merck, and now they're all going to bottleneck up into turn number 1, but they all save it. Wow, Dawson, he jumped up right there. He was hoping he'd have enough momentum to carry to lead that lap. He doesn't, and unfortunately, looks like now he's going to find himself even more buried than he was, and he's not going to have a friend in Jeff Merck now either.
That did not pay off for Logan York at all. In fact, he lost track position compared to where he was now, even further away from leading a lap. So really not going the way that he wanted it to, at least in that situation. And now they've lost all their help, have he and Navarro. But don't look for long. Here comes Triscaro. You know, he's not going to stay on the bottom. He has to be aggressive as well. So he's going to jump up. Mike Davenport, Matthew Baker coming forward as well. Does Triscaro take this upstairs? Let's see. He's got a massive run headed for 1. No, he's going to... Wow, play a little conservative, dive back down to the bottom and hanging behind Chris McCullough. This is kind of weird for the guys I figured would try to take it up against the outside wall.
It certainly is. Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro still working together. That is 2 of the best guys you'll find in the sim, both on super speedways and any track. Coke Series driver and Contender Series / Road Pro Series driver with, of course, Andrew Navarro. But Jason Maines on the inside looking to see if he can get a lap led here tonight. Logan York still sits 3rd with nowhere to go on the outside. Davenport just behind him. Mike Davenport, another guy who's looking to make the step up this season. Remember, he was last season's Little Dog Series champion over in John Ward's Dega Pro Series. And so he came into tonight looking to see if, or not tonight, rather came into the season looking to see if he could add on with maybe a Big Dog championship. As if he could get the win here tonight, he'd be able to lock himself into the round of 8. And if not, Going to have to point his way in. Still plenty of laps to go, as we have completed 35.75 when we crossed the line this time. It's going to put us at exactly 40 to go, which is still more than we normally see at this point just about any other week when we did the 60-lap races. So I think right now, Dawson, my goal if I'm a driver in this field is, maybe try to pick up a couple of spots when things are calm and just try to get yourself as far up as you can in terms of when we're going to get to that first pit stop, being able to have that track position.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal that's on these guys' minds right now. I mean, you could tell it's how they've been racing the whole night. It's how they raced the first pit stop. It's how they're going to race to this one, because that can change so much, because we've seen it this season before. Maybe the whole field gets back together on that pit stop, but more likely than not, you have a few cars drive away, and then from there, everybody else kind of out of it when it comes down to the end of the race. Only about 3, 4, 5 guys have a real chance to win. So you got to go get track position in the case that this gets into a strategy race. You want to be one of those 5 or 6 cars left, especially, like I said, if you're one of those 7 guys currently on the racetrack. Now 8, NASCAR Bill has rejoined, but one of the 7 lead lap guys that still realistically could win this race and make their way to the round of 8.
Now I'm looking at some of the guys who have been through the field here tonight, and got a couple of them, but I'm telling you, Matthew Baker, he must be looking for his PC out here tonight, because he has been all the way at the back. He's been at the front and just about everywhere in between. Doing a continual, pretty good job, though, managing the car, keeping it under him as he continues to roll on the inside back there behind his teammate, Michael Triscaro in the 34, who wiggles a little bit there coming off of turn 2, but that inside lost some momentum. Watch for Mains to get clear here, maybe even Navarro as well down the backstretch.
Yeah, big push up top as Garrett Mains has been able to kind of control lanes, basically all he wants. He's very much been the maestro at the front of the field tonight, and he continues to do so. He was not able to bring Andrew Navarro with him, and that's because all the help out back of Logan York again has disintegrated, all the way back to about J.R. Miller, who's 5 car lanes off the back bumper of the 0-2. Now, props to Logan York. He's doing a great job right now keeping those 2 cars up there, but all of a sudden, as I say that, Navarro goes up and around. He's going to the back. Pit stops appear to be coming here in pretty short order.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, it didn't look like York was trying to split him there, but Navarro clearly didn't want much, if any, part of it there. So as he drops out, he'll fade to the back, jump in behind potentially Joe Herta, or he'll continue to go back. But on the inside, Garrett Mains leads a long single file, or I guess I should say becoming single file line. Jason Mains second, Christopher McCullough third in that line, but Logan York, J.R. Miller, Trevor Osranoff still pushing pretty tough on this outside, trying to see if they can make something work. And Osranoff still 2 laps down. I'm not sure how he lost another lap, but point is, Osranoff here is just looking to see if he can get one of those laps back, as Nash Brambilla has made it back out on the racetrack. Ken McCullough Jr., well, I'll give his pit crew props, Dawson. They managed to somehow get that right front tire back on, but point is, his race still going to be over, as he's going to be probably 10-plus laps down. So he'll just be out here hoping to maybe scavenge a position or 2, depending on if we see a big wreck within the next, 15 to 20 laps. But certainly things not looking too good for the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr., and not looking too good for the 23 Nash Brambilla either, as you see the field starting to come up on him here in maybe a handful of laps or so.
Yeah, Brambilla already many laps down. Trevor Oswanoff's very much still in this, though. He could easily get a lap back here with a caution, some kind of cycle. So that's why he's duking it out up here with the leaders. And then, yeah, you mentioned Kenny McCullough. He was only 4 points back at the cut line as they run, but you're going to need some help at this point. But being single digits, it's definitely not over yet for the 0-3. If we have some calamities start to break out, just by the fact that he's continuing to run. He's continuing to run laps. He's continuing to stay on the racetrack, should I say, and just maybe something happens for him here in the next few laps that he can kind of...
Oh!
There!
Oh, Jason Mains gets turned.
Mains. How in the world did Logan York keep going straight? Oh, we might still wreck at the front. 4 wide at the front for a moment. Garrett Mains has to dirt track it on the apron.
Oh, my goodness. I'm trying to keep the cameras everywhere here because we have got so many big moments. Jason Mains, I couldn't tell at that first initial view, did he save this car? Did he not here? Don't see any damage yet for the 12. He may have hung on to this car. Let's go see. I couldn't tell. It certainly looked like the angle he was going to hit that inside wall, but you never know. Some of these guys find ways to save these cars that you couldn't even think of. So it's just coming off of turn 2, and in fact, I'm going to slow this down so we can go to the blimp view. In fact, we'll go to an even more aerial view. We'll go to the chopper view, And watch Jason here. Does he get... Oh, well, I forgot. It starts up front, of course, with, Logan York and J.R. Miller. They're getting together. And is that a result of a push from Garrett? Yes, it is. So top of your screen there, Garrett. He's trying to push Logan off the corner, which you can do. But again, I talk about it's a little sketchy. I don't think that was the actual issue there. I think what it is, Dawson, is it looks like there's just a little bit of right rear neck code there between J.R. Miller and Logan York, and that's what gets the 0-2 kind of hooked into him. And then, as you said, I don't know how Logan York hung on, but then the checkup eventually leads to contact, and Jason Maines gets tapped by Christopher McCullough, and he goes for a slide here, but sure enough, he does keep it off the inside wall by plenty. So Jason Maines, besides maybe a fresh set of tires and a caution, he's still in this race.
He needs a caution, though. That's the big thing. If this race gets to strategy, I mean, his race is borderline over at this point, and it's a tough break for him, but now he just needs a little bit of help. And for Logan York, if he is able to stay inside the playoff field tonight, that might be the season saver right there. In fact, it is the season saver for him in the 0-2. I genuinely have zero idea. I mean, he was pointed out there at the RVs on the backstretch. I have no idea how he kept that car straight.
Certainly a phenomenal save from Logan York, and if he makes it to the next couple rounds, he might be looking back to that save right there. But nonetheless, 43 of 75 laps complete here at Daytona. We're going to take our first break of the night, but we will go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. Hard into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Up front, Garrett Maines leads, and you saw on the nonstop cam everybody making their pit stop, and somehow they all got in completely clean. And the reason that's important is because usually when we get a pit stop, we like to call thinning of the herd, where you get a couple drivers that get dropped out of the pack. That's not the case, because everybody did such a good job getting in and out that everybody that was in this lead group going in is still in this lead group coming out. So 46 laps complete, Dawson. Next pit stop, maybe somewhere around lap 60, maybe a little bit longer. Try to make this on one more stop from here. But with what we saw there, I mean, we could still very well have a, 10 to 15 car race at the end of this thing.
Still needs a caution, and the way they're running up front right now, they are not going to have one anytime soon. And man, what a cycle. I'm surprised they all came in and got out relatively together without any issue. It's a bunch of guys, especially the ones up here near the front that need the points. That's big time for them.
Yeah, and I apologize, Dawson. I did have you muted there for probably about the first quarter of the commentary. Had time, but nonetheless, we got it sorted out. People can hear you again now. Matthew Baker going to be the first man as he will jump to the top lane, but doesn't get much help here. Logan York looks like he might want to go. They're going to still need one or two more cars out there to really get that line moving. Ken McCullough Jr., by the way, he's not on the lead lap, but that car did get repaired, and it looks like it's still pretty sporty out there in the draft. So while his playoff hopes are over as he sits 16 laps down, it's not over for him potentially helping a teammate. He stayed here to try to maybe help, say, Christopher McCullough there, as he currently runs in that second position, and Christopher still in a position to advance to the next round. So Ken might try to go help him out or potentially help someone else out, as again going to be coming to 49 laps this time. There goes Matthew Baker, going to split JR Miller, as now he'll quickly think twice about it, jumps back down, and he'll push the 78 now as Matt Lee is going to jump in. So will looks like the one of Joe Herta. And all of a sudden now we've got 4 cars stacked up on that outside line.
Yeah, don't be surprised if Michael Triscaro takes a step out of line here in front of his PGR car, JR Miller and Matthew Baker, who he's working with tonight, and he does. The 34 to the outside. He's a guy 2 points below the cut line that could completely shake this thing up if he gets to victory lane tonight. They got to wind that line back up, though. It's not really going right now. JR's trying to get squared to him. Now it starts to go. Here comes the outside, and once again, we're back to 2 wide, 5 rows deep, back to Joe Huerta and Jeff Merck and Mike Davenport. It'll be Michael Triscaro inheriting the lead as they come off the banking in turn 4.
I don't know if he's led a lap yet, but this is a very good opportunity to do so right here. He's got to get a better push than what Christopher McCullough has given to that inside line. He's going to get it. There you go. JR Miller pushes his teammate Michael Triscaro. If he hadn't led one up until this point, he's got one now, and he'll quickly jump to the inside, try to open the door for JR Miller, his teammate, to get a lap led here as well. Matthew Baker pushed on the outside. Logan York third in that lane. Joe Herta in fourth. And then you've got looks like the 18 of Brock Westmoreland. I was getting ready to say the 4, but looks like he's in a bit of a different number than we're used to seeing. Brock going to make a move now to the outside. Triscaro still leads on the bottom. JR Miller might get clear here down the back. He will, and he'll jump down into turn 3.
And JR Miller, another guy that really could use a good run. He's only 4 to the good right now. I believe he'd already led a lap at one point earlier in the race, so he'll stay at +4, at least on my provisional scoring for now, as he gets the push from Garrett Maines in the 1. Next car to lead a lap that has not yet. Chris McCullough, Logan York, both have yet to lead laps in this race. Oh, man, big push to JR. That was almost disaster for the guys at the front of the field. A very, very close call allows Michael Triscaro to once again drive around the outside. And don't look now, Jason Maines, as the field laps by him, potentially seeing his playoff hopes take a bit of a hit here as well as he goes a lap down and we're into a strategy race.
Yeah, it might take a hit, but I think he's going to be okay here. I'm sure we'll get a caution at some point before this thing's over, especially if after that final pit stop we still have a lead pack this big. But yes, for now, Jason, he'll fall his first lap down. And so now it's him and Sean Corbett. It looks like we'll be battling it out for that lucky dog spot. Jason Maines is going to be able to hang with the lead pack, though, as it looks like Ken McCullough Jr. is going to pick him up there at the back. So 24 laps to go. Garrett Maines still leads. I believe he may have led the most here tonight. Seems like every time that we've looked towards the front, he has been leading the way. JR Miller on the outside with Michael Triscaro. Matthew Baker there as well. And I do want to stop and talk about a couple more of the drivers that we see in this lead pack, and some of the ones, of course, that we see in the playoffs. Make a stop at Jeff Merck. And, you look for, I want to say, Mr. Consistency when it's in his control. A lot of bad luck of a lot of the guys who have, more than enough skill when it comes to the money racing scene. Jeff Merck, he knows how to get it done in any series and any car. And like I said, when it's not due to a bad break from some bad luck, Jeff Merck, he is always a great pick to win it at any of these super speedways. And right now, sits in that 9th position, looking to advance his way to the round of 8 here tonight. And he is, of course, carrying a driver cam for us. And then go a spot just behind, and it's Joe Herta in the 1. and Joe on the outside. But Joe Herta, not a playoff driver, but driver out of Fontana, California, joined KSR this year, and you got to think that he...
Garrett Maines, Chris McCullough going around right from the lead. And Chris McCullough's going to hit the inside wall, and the caution flag's going to fly.
Oh, my goodness. Christopher McCullough has smoke out the back. That is going to be a night ender for the 94. The one of Garrett Maines' heavy damage as well. Oh boy, this is going to certainly shake up that picture. Dawson, get your calculator out. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. Let's break it down. Let's see where it all goes wrong here. Go to the chopper view first. This is coming off of turn number 2. And watch here. It's going to have to start with a push here. No, oh my goodness, that's teammates too. Oh, that's brutal. Michael Triscaro and J.R. Miller, 2 teammates. And just Triscaro, he's just offset. I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out if he's getting pushed by Matthew Baker here. I don't think he was. Baker's pretty close, but notice Triscaro here. He's pushing J.R. through the corner, and the whole time he's doing so, he's slowly but surely getting more and more offset left. And then by the time they're out of the corner, he's about probably halfway from being squared up to offset left. And then as he tries to kind of recenter, just swipes the 78. That sends him right down into the 1 of Garrett Maines. And then wrecks on from here. Here's a ride for Garrett Maines, Christopher McCullough. Chris, he's got the brakes locked up, but there's nowhere to run from that inside safer barrier. And eventually he slid to it. Garrett Maines did lock it down and was able to actually, looks like threw it in reverse before he got anywhere close to this inside wall. And so what that did is allowed him to keep from getting any damage. So good job for Garrett there. But again, that is a really, really tough break for Christopher McCullough. Let's see, did anybody else get involved in this one here? I saw a couple others shoot down to the inside. There goes JR spinning. I don't think that anybody else actually got involved in this, though, somehow, as there's JR Miller. He wheels and deals onto the apron, but we'll watch a couple more angles of this to confirm. There goes JR as he gets turned, and then back towards the inside wall he's going to go. Good save overall, though. Looks like he was able to hold on for the most part, and then, yep, everybody else was able to escape catastrophe right there. But, yeah, Christopher McCullough, he certainly got the worst one of this, and you know, Dawson, that's just kind of that risk versus reward on the outside, as aggressive as they were pushing. I think Michael Triscaro is going to be going back and asking himself, was it worth pushing that hard this early? I think you can argue it both ways, because that's what these guys have been doing all night, no problem, but it's just that thin line. You get just ever so slightly offset, you get past that point, and the car goes around. The rest is history.
It's the quintessential Xfinity Series car crash that we've seen all season long, feels like. Every time we have a wreck, especially coming off the corner, the car starts to unload, like you said, and it's trouble. Every single time you try to push right there, it is trouble in this car. We've seen it from countless drivers at countless times of every race this season, and it strikes again. And just the worst possible moment for really all 3 of those cars. Obviously, Garrett. That stage win, by the way, looming large for Garrett Maines right now, who would have only had a 27-point advantage, which very much could have put him in the realm of maybe being out should some miracles happen. But lucky for him, got the 5 extra points. He should be all good. But for J.R. Miller, Chris McCullough, man, that is brutal. Both guys that were single digits above the cut line now find themselves in really, really bad spots.
Indeed. Well, we'll get ready to go back to green flag racing here. It looks like it'll be about 19 laps to go when we get the green. So we are going to take another quick break, but we'll be right back for the restart. Stick with us at Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, getting ready for the second restart here tonight. Well, I guess technically second caution here tonight. We had the one that was going to be for the stage break, but came out for an incident just before we crossed the line, the checkered for the stage, and then the caution that we just wrapped up, which took out one of the playoff contenders of Christopher McCullough. So back into the restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air, 19 laps to go, and that leaves us with a pit stop still in play, and also a big shakeup in the points. How's it looking now, Dawson?
So assuming that the 3 cars that we assume are out of this race, Kenny McCullough is about 15 laps down. I'm labeling him as out. He'll be out effectively at about 4 laps. Chris McCullough has parked it. His night is done. Nash Brambilla is in an interesting spot. I have him marked as out because he's multiple laps down. He's 2 laps down right now, but some more caution, some more help, some more guys out, and that could completely change. So we'll have to keep an eye on where Nash Brambilla ends up as well. As they run right now, if they were to finish here, Triscaro +1, Davenport -1, Lee -2. We got a good one in store for us the last 18 laps.
So then the question, I guess, becomes at what point do you ditch the teammates or the team orders, however you want to call it, and go for it? Because we got a couple PGR boys in here, and I don't think all of them are going to necessarily have the chance to advance. So with Davenport and Triscaro running the way they are, wouldn't be shocked to see Davenport try to make a move for his own at the end of this thing. But look at this, Joe Herta, he's going to pull out to the front of the field and see if he can get a couple laps led here. Again, not a playoff driver, but still out looking to see if he can compete for that top 4 payout. Navarro will look high as they work their way down the Daytona Super Stretch. Dylan Jones now the lead pusher. And as I always seem to say to myself every time I see this 11 car, where did he come from? Was running a little bit further back early on in the race. Slowly but surely got his way up here, up 14 positions from where he started at. And here he is leading on the outside off of turn number 4 as we are coming to 17 laps to go.
And trying to completely play spoiler, too. He says, who cares about your playoffs? I'm going to go win me a race and throw everybody for a loop and keep somebody from potentially saving their season tonight. Dylan Jones, he doesn't care about that. He cares about the paycheck at the end of this thing, the big winner's check waiting for him in victory lane. He's going at it. He's got nothing to lose. He's got Matthew Baker with him now. The guys that start to have stuff to lose are back around Matt Lee, Michael Triscaro, Mike Davenport. Jared Haynes, by the way, has completely recovered from earlier. He lost the pack on the last pit stop. That caution saved his tail. He now runs 9th. He's very much in this one as well.
Told you not to count him out. Dark horse pick. I'm sticking with him, but here we go off the turn 4 up front. Oh, man. Couple of big moves as Navarro washed up. Couple guys got really out of shape on that inside line. I think one of them, couldn't tell if it was Joe Herta or a couple spots behind, but they all managed to save it. 16 laps to go, and again, still a pit stop expected. So with all this chaos up here, Dawson, and as many things as we've seen kind of go different with the playoff picture, what kind of strategy are you thinking if you're up here? Do you try to still go in with the pack, or do you maybe break this thing off a little early and try to short pit it?
Depends on where you are in points. I think Navarro and Garrett Maines have the most to lose here. I think they could afford to probably short pit, get away from the field, and just, kind of go with it. Really, actually, you almost could think opposite. Maybe they're thinking, okay, well, I can just go with the pack. I'm up 20, I'm up 34 points in the case of Navarro and Maines, respectively. I don't really have anything to lose here, per se, Garrett especially, so I imagine he'll just run it out. Now, Jeff Merck below the cut line, Matt Lee below the cut line. They're I imagine, going to just, I would want to get away from the field. I'd want to keep the car clean if it were me. That close to the cut line, I wouldn't be risking it coming to pit road where so much can happen.
Yeah, I think we still haven't seen a big one yet here tonight, but I think we will at some point with just the aggression level it's been. But, of course, that pit stop could help separate this field a little bit at the end. Matt Lee going to reclaim the lead up front. Got 1 win in the regular season, would like to get at least 1 here in the playoffs if it meant advancing himself to the round of 8. Jeff Merck on the outside. Beautiful looking colors on that car tonight for a beautiful cause. Matthew Baker, the lead pusher, just behind him. Those two working together a lot in PGR, or used to work together a lot in a lot of the series, including PGR. Baker up in the booth, though, now on Thursdays. So here on Tuesdays, those two are a very good duo when they're able to get locked up. Michael Triscaro out there as now Baker's going to jump to the inside. Kind of wonder, is this starting to signify maybe pit stops on the horizon here again? I know we said this earlier, Dawson, on some of the earlier pit stops, but I like the idea of going in early enough to still have time to get grouped up and still have maybe, a handful of laps or so to race. But I don't know if that'll be the strategy the general field decides to go on yet or not.
I don't know. I mean, they're not racing like it. At least some of these guys up top are not racing like it right now. They're obviously not in a position to come to pit road right now. So I expect it'll be a several laps still. They're just trying to get themselves in the spot where when they do come to...
Oh my goodness, he saved it.
And another potential season saver for Andrew Navarro. I know he's a little bit above the cut line compared to some of the other guys. But man, again, if he makes it into the round of 8, even the round of 4, he's probably going to look back at that moment right there as one of the catalysts, one of the turning points.
Yeah, and as you started talking, Dawson, he actually was washing up in a 3, and he got into Merck. They got stuck together for a moment, but he was able to drive off, and I thought nothing of it. But then, I guess as he did, he's trying to save it here, and just honestly there, I think that he just actually overdid it himself a little bit here. The car was saved. Right here, the car's saved, but he keeps trying to correct it, and he almost knocks it right back out of shape after he saves it. Watch this again in slow motion here. Watch the car here. Goes down. He's going to save it right here. Right here, the car's saved. He's fine. But then right there, he just gets it a little bit out of shape again. Now, to be fair, he may have hit the splitter on the apron, which, of course, would have knocked up the racetrack. But you said it, Dawson. That was a huge save, and if it comes down to one moment at the end of the season, that's one right there where he could be looking back and saying, wow, what would have been if I did not hold on to that race car. Here's another view of it. In fact, I wanted to see if we could get an angle of whether or not he hit the splitter on this race car, and then we'll go back live here. So watch this one more time here from a zoomed-in view as he gets loose. Watch, gets up the track. Him and Jeff Merck get sucked together, and then he's going to have to turn the wheel left here to get off of that 60. Once he does, starts to step out a little bit. He's able to chase it around. He holds on to it, but then here's going to be that overcorrection that ultimately gets him out of shape even more. But then looks like the apron actually helps straighten him out. What a save from Andrew Navarro. 11 laps to go. Up front, 2x2, Dylan Jones, Garrett Maines, and guess what? Mike Davenport. I said, Dawson, he would think about making a move, and he's made a couple. He jumped to that outside, now finds himself in the lead pusher position. And he needs to do everything he can here to try to stay in the top 4. And most importantly, I think right now, is to stay in front of that 34 car of Michael Triscaro.
Yeah, again, a 1-point difference, live points as they run, a 1-point separation between the teammates for PGR. Triscaro +1, Davenport -1. And if you were to go to tiebreakers, I'm not even sure how that would solve anything, because neither of them has a win and neither of them has a stage win. So I'm not even sure what it would go to at that point for tiebreakers. They don't even want to think about that, and neither do I with my calculator up here. And with 10 laps to go, unfortunately we may have to, because they're glued to each other right now.
And I saw ahead, there is going to be some lap traffic that's going to come into play, but as we jump back a little bit further and take a ride on board here with Jared Haynes in the 7, talked about the night he's had, but right now he's fading a little bit, Dawson. I think he needs to be careful here, because you said that pit stop was what got him earlier, and when you struggle on a pit stop, the best thing you can do is be as close to the front as you can. That way you can afford to lose some time getting in, and that way you can still get out with the pack. But as he falls back now to 13th, starting to lose a little bit of sight of the leaders as he's behind Joe Herta. Pit stops I got to expect here probably the next handful of laps or so, so he'll try to get back up there. But the 2x2 action is still persisting up front, all the way about 6 rows deep, and Mike Davenport has faded to about 4th in line as Michael Triscaro moves up to 2nd in his line. Matt Lee leading the outside. Jeff Merck going to go back to the point, though, on the inside.
Yeah, Merck, a guy, again, 4 points below the cut line that could potentially steal away a playoff spot right here. If it were to end right now, he'd be awfully close to stealing away one of those last few playoff spots, so he's got to stay where he's at. Same with Matt Lee, -2. For Lee, -4. For Merck right now, they could both steal away playoff spots from guys running above them on the racetrack right now, so they got to stay where they're at, try to win the race, potentially shake it up that way as well. Big-time potential points implications. I mean, you got 4 guys at the front, 3 at the front below the cut line, and 1 that's just barely above it in Michael Triscaro running 3rd on the inside. It's going to come down to every last position when it comes down to it.
8 laps to go. Man, this is a weird feeling, Dawson. This is the point where you usually think each lap moves are being made for the win, but they're not being made yet for the win because, again, we still have, I believe, that one pit stop. Well, I'm trying to remember, though. We went back to green, was it 20 to go? It was about
something like that. I feel like it was a little bit more than that.
Okay, well, point being, then they should, definitely indeed have to make that stop. For a brief minute, I sort of questioned myself in terms of, can they maybe stretch it? No chance. I mean, These cars on 50% fuel could only make about 20 laps, and then you go to 40%, even less than that. So even Saban shouldn't be able to make it to the end. I think this is just trying to get any track position you can get before that final stop. But everybody's starting to run out of time here, Dawson. 7 laps to go now, and there's still 4 or 5 of them on that outside. Matthew Baker at the tail end of it as Osmanoff is going to drop low, and now Matt Lee. He's going to jump up, so clearly he may not be ready for pit stops just yet.
One more car coming up in front of him. I believe it's going to be Sean Corbett here, or excuse me, Sean Corbett's with the lead draft. I'm not sure what I saw there, but don't mind me. They have passed, I believe, they are going to pass Landon Velicky, but he is 26 laps down in 22nd position. So no harm, no foul for the playoffs there. Notably, Brambilla lost a 3rd lap, and Osborne lost a 2nd one, which effectively eliminates them without some serious miracles going on for both of those cars in the late stages. So potentially another couple cars out of the playoff conversation for sure now, with just 6 laps to go on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a really tough break. Brambilla was doing everything right here tonight until he got caught up in that unfortunate incident. But as it stands now, you said, that a miracle. Looks like his chances are going to be over. Garrett Maines on the outside, and now really starting to look like pit stops are going to be soon here because that inside line just continues to grow. Mike Davenport, Dylan Jones, Garrett Maines, the only 3 still on the outside. In fact, at this rate, if you're Garrett, you might be forced to have to try to pit here from that outside. We'll see what they do here off turn 4.
I mean, we're definitely in the window now. It's been about 15 laps or so, 14 since we went back green. A couple cars towards the tail end going to come to pit road. Emos, Miller,
Miller spins it.
And J.R. Miller, oh no.
Oh, man.
No.
That's really not good news there for the 78. Just needed to get in smooth. And Jimmy Emos, he got into the grass and spun as well, but they're well off the racing surface in the pit, so it's not going to draw the caution. Does this affect J.R. Miller, Dawson?
Yeah, +6 right now. He cannot finish. He might be able to finish where he's at, depending on what happens to guys like Matt Lee, Mike Davenport, Jeff Merck. But here's the problem for him. They're all running 1, 2, and 5s, make it 6 on the racetrack right now. That's not good for JR at all. All the guys he needs to run poorly now are at the front of the field as they come down for their last pit stops.
This will be the final group to make it into the pits. Question is, can they all get in clean? Oh, man. Looks like they somehow all do 4 wide. Pit road here at Daytona, probably the widest part of the racetrack. And, man, it was a tight squeeze, but they all managed to find a way to make it work. And so now we're getting ready to see what will be the race to the checkered. And it looks like it's only going to be a 4-lap race, and they still got to get up to speed. So when they're finally up to speed and all group back together, this could come down to only a 2-lap race. And it might come down to whichever group is actually lagging a little bit behind and gets the run. But look at this, 3 wide as they're ghosting in and out of each other. Oh, Garrett Maines is going to spin Davenport. Oh, man, Davenport's going to go up the track. This is causing all kinds of chaos here.
Oh, and that might be the season for Mike Davenport. He really needed that to work in his favor. He got a good pit stop, but now he's going to lose the draft, and that may very well be the end of his campaign because of that incident.
Well, let's go back and look at it. That's one there where, as a driver, let's see here. I'm thinking Mike Davenport, he's not going to be too happy, and you can't blame him. We'll just take one brief look at this for now because we got to go back live, but it's a tight fit there, and well, Triscaro and Garrett are still ghosted, it looks like, but Garrett's certainly not ghosted with Davenport and just clips him. And, yeah, I'm sure Mike Davenport is not too happy with Garrett Maines right now. But nonetheless, we go back live. Dylan Jones, he makes his final stop with Jason Maines. And then here's Matt Lee roaring through the short chute. And they're going to get to those 2 who don't really have much drafting help. And right now, your top 3 are Lee, Navarro, and Maines. But here comes Michael Triscaro, Jeff Merck, Logan York, and a plethora of other drivers as we'll be coming to 2 laps to go next time.
Yeah, and Lee and Navarro were on an island here. The entire line jumped around them. Dylan Jones, Jason Maines are really on an island out front. This is going to get hairy down here in 3. Michael Triscaro, he may be in the catbird seat, and he's going to look to the outside of Garrett Maines. He's going to look for the race lead. He's got Merck with him. Can they squeeze by the lap cars in 3 and 4?
Oh, they're going to go 3 wide to do so. No block from the inside. Garrett's going to stick to the middle. Lee pushing for all he's worth. Oh, he's going to wreck him. He goes through the grass. Can Lee be the only one to go around? The 04 goes for a slide. Looks like he's going to hold on. We're going to stay green. 2 laps to go now. That is clipped off a few more cars out of this lead group. Michael Triscaro now leads. Garrett Maines doing the push in. Jeff Merck back in that 3rd spot, but he's fading now. Baker will move up to 3rd. Oh, man, Michael Triscaro, you know how bad he wants this one, Dawson. What are the emotions right now? Garrett Maines going to look back to the outside down the back.
He is, but here comes some help for Michael Triscaro, who gets turned. Garrett Maines goes around. They're wrecking right at the front of the field with 2 laps to go.
And it's going to bring the caution out, as it looks like Garrett may have been the only car that actually ended up wrecking in this one here. And he may have saved it as well. May have just went for a loop. It looks like we are headed to overtime. You see a little bit of rear end damage there, and it seems like Michael Triscaro, the curse of leading late in these races, just never ever ends too well. And here we go. Let's see what happens here. Michael Triscaro he was leading coming down the back, but then Garrett made a move. That was fine. I think it's going to be a push here from Baker that gets his 34 sideways. So let's see here. Mike looking for a little bit of block, nothing doing there. And then that move, there was so much gap after Garrett made that move that it allowed Baker to get a huge run, and Justin Mills is pushing Baker, and sometimes that's the issue there, is because Baker can't really check up when he's got a car pushing him. And so when he gets into Triscaro, it's a huge run. And similar to what we saw with Ken McCullough Jr. earlier, Dawson, Baker is slightly offset. And if it's not a huge bump, he probably gets away with it. But when you have a run that big in these cars, you've got to be perfectly square. He wasn't. He gets into Triscaro, who gets up into Garrett Maines. And once Maines goes around in front of the field, you thought this one was going to be big. Joe Herta hits the outside wall. But then after that, somehow they all miss him, and Garrett goes for a slide but never hits the wall. So besides some rear end damage here, I think he's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay. He lost a bunch of track position, but I kind of talked about it earlier. It ultimately is not a big deal for the one to win this race. He is plus 34. And the interesting part now is the pit stops behind the leaders. Mark Triscaro, Baker, Jason Maines, Jared Haynes, Andrew Navarro. We'll wait and see on Matt Lee here. Matt Lee are going to be the ones that stay on the speedway. Everybody else coming to pit road here.
That's really interesting. Well, actually, you know what that could be? Fuel. Is that my guess?
Yeah, and I think I can tell you why. I think it's because I don't think anybody took a full tank on the last pit stop. I think they all took what they needed to make the end of regulation. And yeah, this pretty much confirms that Merck, Triscaro are on the flat. They're saving gas. These guys may cut it close on the pit stop, thinking it would go green, and we would not go to overtime. Big risk from these guys up front.
And before we go to that, I do want to back this up one more time here. See if we can actually go back to this incident between Mike Davenport, Garrett Maines, and Michael Triscaro. This was that incident coming out of the pits. And, good news for Davenport is that he got a lucky break here. But, just in this case, it's one of those things where as a driver and just drivers in general, I know everybody's going for it at the end, but you're going to come out as a group, and they were really lucky that this did not collect a whole bunch of these guys and potentially end a lot of playoff chances. You're 3 wide coming out of the pits, and you're coming up on an apron that's flat that you're going to have to get funneled down. I mean, for Pete's sakes, guys, you got to figure it out here. You can't all want the spot that bad. Somebody's got to give. I mean, it's a matter of that one position, which you're going to have a chance to get back in the coming laps, and instead, and unfortunately, it costs Mike Davenport. And man, I know he was probably smoke coming out of the ears until he got that caution. Then all of a sudden he was saying, it's okay. It's in the rearview mirror. Now he's going to be ready to go, but certainly cost him a lot of track position. So we'll see if the 55 can make the comeback here in these last couple laps. So working our way to the start-finish line here. This should be the one-to-go signal from the pace car. And again, overtime rules are as follows. Green, white, checkered. So we'll take the green flag. We've got to make it all the way around to take the white flag for this race to be official. And if we don't, then we will rack them up and give it another try. And so see if they line up 2 by 2 this time. Sure enough, they will. So it is going to be Jeff Merck, Matthew Baker on row 1. Michael Triscaro, he's still in this thing with a chance at it as he sits in 3rd. Jason Maines back in 4th. And there he is, Dawson. Jared Haynes sits in that 5th spot. Earlier we thought he was going to have to win it. And I'm curious now, is there a way he can point it in with where he runs?
It's going to take a miracle. He's 8 back of Michael Triscaro right now. He's 13 back of Jason Maines. He is 14 back of J.R. Miller and 15 back of Brock Westerman. That's about all he could point his way in based on where cars are running right now. So he would need something to happen to either the 34 in front of him or a couple cars out back of him here. If that had stayed green and he'd been able to make up some spots, he might have had a better chance of pointing his way in. But Matt Lee, J.R. Miller, man, I'm forgetting. I'm drawing a blank on who that third car was. So Mike Davenport, them getting that caution kind of eliminated that for Jared Haynes unless he has some stuff happen here behind him.
Well, there's a good chance he could have some stuff happen here because we know
Absolutely.
how often we see that big last lap wreck that collects all but, 3 or 4 cars, and all it takes is being the guy that sneaks through it, and some of the guys you needed to be in it get in it. But, man, I'm looking at some of the names here and how big a win would be to some of these guys, and I think obviously the one that pops out the most is Michael Triscaro, right? He said it. He wants to get one in PGR, but you know how much he wants to get one here, and I think he actually got one of his first wins in Tuesday Night Thunder, and that was either last season or the season prior to that. Point being, the 34 he's due. He's came so close so many times, and man, oh man, he wants to get the job done here tonight. Jeff Murkdo, that's another driver who would like to get a win here tonight. Baker's looking to add on to what's already been a historical season for the record books. I mean, what has he got? 4 or 5 wins now. Could be number 6 here tonight, potentially. We'll have to see how it pans out, but here we go. Time to do some overtime racing at the World Center of Racing. 2 laps to go at Daytona. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a good, even restart for that first row. Jeff Merck with maybe a little bit of a better push out of the gate from Michael Triscaro, and that inside is getting formed up a little bit quicker. Triscaro is going to have to find a way to try to push both him and Merck clear if he wants a shot to jump up, but he's got to do it here before they get to the backstretch. It's not going to happen. Baker and Maines now start to make a run back on the outside.
And now it's where do you draw the line if you're Michael Triscaro here? If you get an opportunity, you know you want to win the race, but you know you're working with Jeff Merck, and he is not really in a must-win, but he's pretty close where a win could really guarantee him a playoff spot. It's going to be really interesting, but they got to get clear first. They haven't been able to yet. Jason Maines and company on the outside are putting up a heck of a fight as they come off turn 4. The next time they come by the start-finish line, they'll see the white flag.
Oh, man, hold your breath for this lap here. Can they all keep it clean? A wreck could change these points dramatically. 1 lap to go, 2.5 miles to decide the round of 8. Matthew Baker on the outside. Jeff Merck leading the inside. Michael Triscaro, the lead pusher. Jason Maines, the lead pusher on the outside. Oh, there's the move. Jeff Merck, he jumps up. They're trying to give Triscaro a shot at it here. Will Jason split 3 wide? There he goes down the back.
Oh, man, Michael Triscaro, the window's open for him, but the window's open for Jared Haynes as well. Here comes the 7. He's now the lead pusher on the bottom. Jason Maines is up top. He's trying to get his first win of the year, but it's going to be the 34 that's may just lead the field off turn number 4 for the final time.
Michael Triscaro's got a short shoot and a travel to go. Can he do it? Here we go. Final time off of turn 4. In front of the field is the 34, Michael Triscaro. He'll get the win as he locks himself into the round of 8 at Daytona. First win of the season. Oh, and his driver cam went down. Oh, man, he has it every race, but we don't have it this one. But I can tell you he is pumped right now, and that's a team effort right there. I'll tell you what, Dawson, you saw that move Merck made. He made that move 100% to help out Triscaro, and it did just that. And look at that. Works out pretty well for the team, too. Merck gets a 2nd place finish, and Baker is able to bring home a 4th. And there it is. Hey, it popped up just in time. As we were talking about him, the driver cam is back. You see the fist pumps, and he's amped up. Oh, man, I wish we would have caught the first end of that. But nonetheless, let's go back and look at the checkered flag moment real quick here for Michael Triscaro, as this was coming off of turn number 4. Well, actually, we're going to back this up even further and go to the blimp cam because I said this was a team effort, and I want to show you exactly why I'm saying that. Watch the move here that Jeff Merck makes in the middle of 1 and 2. He doesn't have to go up at this point. In fact, they're already guaranteed a 1-2 finish with, him and Baker sitting where they are, but he goes up to open the bottom up to Triscaro, and by doing so, that's all Triscaro needed, and a hats off here to Jared Haynes, who did a phenomenal job pushing. He brought home a podium spot. Don't know if it's going to be enough to advance. Don't think it is, but the point is, Jared Haynes, look at the pushing here. I mean, and there it is. I'll tell you what, Dawson, we don't see this much, but I really appreciate what Jared Haynes did right here in turn 3. He was pushing Triscaro for all he's worth. He got offset while pushing Triscaro, and you know what he didn't do? He did not stay in the throttle and turn the 34. He just burped it enough so that he could back off, recenter him, and notice it wasn't a momentum killer when he did that. It wasn't anything of the sort. And this is the onboard view here for Jared Haynes. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Right there. See how he gets out of throttle? Just briefly. Not completely, but just enough when he got him sideways. He didn't want to turn him. He realized, and by doing that, kept the 34's momentum up, gave him another push here to the checkered flag, and that's all that he needed. Rest was history. Margin of victory there looks like about half a car length for Michael Tresquero, getting his first win of the season, and what a time to do it.
It's a feel-good win for sure. It's one he might run the engine out of this car. He might leave the steering wheel and the motor at the start-finish line here because he's still celebrating. He may not stop until the sun comes back up.
Yeah, he's excited about it, and he should be. We're going to get an interview with him in just a moment here, but before we do that, let's look at your finishing results here for the night. All right, Michael Tresquero, again, is your race winner here. Wins race 2 of the round of 16. We will be seeing him next week in the round of 8, and then bringing home the second-place finish tonight. Also working with him as a teammate was Jeff Merck for NBG, and then rounding out the podium with a great run, but unfortunately, and not confirmed yet, but it's looking like Jared Haynes, who again finishes 3rd, may not quite have enough to advance. Matthew Baker finishes in 4th, Dylan Jones 5th, Jason Maines in 6th, Logan York back in 7th, Brock Westmoreland in 8th, Andrew Navarro in 9th, and Justin Mills rounds out your top 10.
Garrett Maines finishes 11th tonight, Mike Davenport in 12th, Sean Corbett 13th, J.R. Miller in 14th, and Mark Mondell 15th. Joe Huerta finishes 16th tonight with Matt Lee in 17th, Trevor Osbornoth in 18th, Nash Brambilla in 19th, Jimmy Emos 20th, Chris McCullough 21st, Landon Velicky 22nd, and Kenny McCullough Jr. in 23rd.
All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back at the World Center of Racing. All right, back live at Daytona International Speedway, and we're going to start first here tonight with your 3rd place finisher, Jared Haynes. Jared, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, man, you bring home a podium finish, and I don't know yet if it's going to be quite enough to advance, but whether it is or isn't, what a phenomenal run here tonight. You had to fight back all night. After getting a little bit behind on a pit stop, you get a caution, and you bring it back to the front. What was going through your head on those last 2 laps as you made those moves to ultimately get you into that final podium spot?
I just needed points. I was going to do anything I could to get points, so I just attached to Mike and didn't let go. That's all I was here for tonight is points.
Certainly did a good job with that. Well, I got a couple more things for you here. First one is, and I think this was a big part in that finish, though you talked about pushing Mike, you weren't going to let go. We saw the moment into turn 3 where it looked like you got offset, and then all of a sudden, did you back off there just enough to make sure you didn't turn him?
Yes, I did. I'm a respectful racer, man. I'm not out here to ruin anybody's night, even if it means that I get stuck back a little bit. Mike had a tough night as it was, and I wasn't going to spin him. So, yes, I let out a little bit. I knew that I wouldn't fall too far back, and I just got right back on his bumper square and pushed.
Well spoken, and the reason I mentioned that is because I was, from what we saw up here, it looked like, if you didn't let off in that case, even if he gets sideways, your guys' run dies out. He doesn't win the race. You don't bring home that podium finish. So definitely hats off move on that. But, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
AMR Paints, my team, One Stop Motors, and my wife for letting me race. Also Moza, they have given me a lot of gear, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us, Jared. Hey, congrats on 3rd place finish. Fingers crossed, man. Hopefully it's enough to see you in the round of 8, but if not, hopefully we still see you out here next week.
Oh, I'll be out there. Either way it goes, I appreciate y'all broadcasting.
All right. There you go. 3rd place finisher, Jared Haynes. Love what he said right there about he wasn't going to wreck him. He wanted to keep it clean, and it still worked out the same. That'll bring us now to your 2nd place finisher here tonight for NBG Motorsports. It's Jeff Merck. Jeff, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
I do, Austin.
Well, a good finish here tonight.
Wait. Did I finish your race?
Yeah, well, that's what I was just getting ready to say. I said, hey, first night where it seemed like somehow nothing went wrong. You weren't involved in any spins. You didn't hit any walls. You weren't upside down, barrel rolling 30 times. So that's a win in of itself, but you bring home a second-place finish. Now, the first question I got is it looked like there may have been a little bit of team play there at the end that worked out in your guys' favor. You finished 1-2, but was that move intentional there to jump up in 1 and 2?
Well, I think that was the only chance we really had because the simple fact, if I hang Baker out, then they're going to clear middle, and then I think we get just actually absolute buried there. And I think they just freight train us. I get up in front of Baker because I was thinking at the time is I needed the win in order to make the top 8 for next week. So the plan was to move up in front of Baker and hopefully he could get me pushed clear. We came up, I think, a fender short, but we just have to wait and see what the points do. That's all we can do.
Absolutely. Well, either way, I mean, it was still a good run here tonight. And, you know, with everything that's, you know, kind of transpired through the season so far, you know, again, hopefully I'm sure we'll see out here next week whether you're in the round of 8 or not. But what have you kind of continued to learn here, and does it feel like maybe the intensity starts to change as you work through these playoffs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this tonight was like, I mean, it was, you know, you had to hit your pit box. You had to, you know, make sure you were taking the right amount of fuel. Matty didn't take enough fuel coming to, I call him Matty, but it's Lee. He didn't take enough fuel coming to the line to, I think it was the stage, and then he had to pit right before the stage, so he lost a bunch of stage points. I gained stage points. I led a lap. So all of that stuff is going through your mind as you're racing. You're counting points. You're okay, this guy didn't get any, and I did, and this guy didn't get any, and he did. Because we were in a tough spot. Baker was definitely locked in. Me and Triscaro had to race our way in. Triscaro definitely raced his way in. Congratulations to my teammate Triscaro for his first win. I know he's been wanting one for a while now, and he got one. So congratulations to my buddy Triscaro.
Absolutely, and thank you for talking to us, Jeff. So before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
First and foremost, my loving wife inside always rooting me on. Thanks, babe. I love you. This paint, it's a special paint. June is PTSD Awareness Month. It's the invisible injury that a lot of our soldiers come back home with that nobody even realizes they have. So PTSD Awareness Month, I really like this paint. The 60 car, my NBG teammates, Matt Baker, Michael Triscaro, RMR for hosting this, PGR eSports, one of my sponsors on the rear deck. They do a great job over there at PGR eSports and with the broadcast. You and Dawson up in the booth, y'all always do an awesome job calling the races, and I always look forward to going back and watching.
And you're going to look forward to watching this one because finally we weren't calling your name out for something bad. Congrats on the second place finish, Jeff. Thanks again for talking to us, and we'll see you out here next week.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to tonight's race winner. Another driver working with NBG tonight, and that is Michael Triscaro. Michael, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I do, boss. How you doing, man?
Good. Well, I'm watching the driver cam here. Did I see you go run and get a beer before your interview?
Absolutely, man. Bush latte, dude. I'm still shaking over here, dude. So yeah, I had to get a beer to calm my nerves.
There you go. Well, hey, man, what a win. What a time to do it. The round of 16, and what a crazy finish there. You know, first of all, walk us through the emotions. You know, we're coming towards the end of the race there before we get that caution. You get out to the lead. Next thing you know, you get turned sideways. Your race goes from almost being over in a wreck to now you've got another chance, and then the seas part. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, I had my teammate coming from behind me. He was getting pushed into, so he kind of just lifted up the rear end of my car, and I'm like, oh, it's all over. This is kind of how the whole season has went. And I'm like, I'm on like a 540 steering. I was able to keep it straight, which is not something I've been able to do the last month or two racing an RMR. And, you know, that might have been the race-winning move right there to just keep me up front. So huge just save right there. And luckily didn't take too much damage and was able to keep all four tires on the track.
Absolutely. Well, you get the win here tonight. You get a teammate that finishes second and a teammate that finishes fourth. And now that you've got that win, I talked about what a time to get that win. How you feeling with the momentum that you're going to have now carrying it into the round of 8?
Well, I came into this race and wanted to drive different than I normally do. The first thing I want to say is I do apologize to the 78 of JR Miller. Normally, a teammate of mine got him kind of hooked off turn number 2 on lap 53. Went back and looked at it. I know he knows I'm sorry about that. It's not something I'd like to do, but you got to be aggressive in these things. I know I was a little upset with Garrett before the stage. I was just going for stage points, and he was blocking, and nothing he did wrong. It's just, I'm starting to drive a little differently. I want to win races. I want to be up front, and I'm sick and tired of playing second fiddle. So I told myself I was going to drive mad tonight, and that's kind of how I got the job done. So,
well, it certainly worked out pretty well. Before we let you head out, though, tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Obviously, my teammates here in RMR, Matthew Baker, Jeff Merck. Feel for Merck a little bit. Not sure if he slid into the playoffs. We were almost kind of hoping he won this race, and I took second. He just wasn't able to beat me to the line. Kind of got stuck there in the middle, and I thought they were going to have a big enough run to pass me, but they didn't. So big thank you to those guys. Obviously, all my guys over at PGR. They gave it hell tonight. I was racing a lot of them, which is normally not what I'm doing, but JR Miller, Mike Davenport, Nash Brambilla, Brock Westmoreland, all those guys. Hopefully, some of them snuck in here. Big thanks to Ron Morris. This is the best league, best racing out in super speedway money racing by far. It's not even close. Big thank you to you and Dawson for everything you do at PGR eSports, man. Trust me, I'm excited. I'm just out of breath from that one, and just happy I locked myself in. I was my goal of the night, and I was points racing for the most part, and I saw an opportunity to go win, and I'll carry those bonus points. Let's try to go make the top 4 and give them hell here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And big shout out, my wife Nikki and I had our second baby, so he's doing great, happy, healthy baby, number 2 and final one for us, but he's upstairs sleeping. Big shout out to her for everything she does for our family. Appreciate it.
There you go. Michael Triscaro, congrats on the win here tonight. We'll see you next week in the round of 8.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Man, he's pumped about it. Dawson, I don't know if we're allowed to have any alcohol on the broadcast or not. I certainly don't care. So we'll say, hey, he was drinking a Dr. Pepper nonetheless. But I'll tell you what a finish here tonight. Michael Triscaro, he's got all the reason in the world to celebrate. Nicely done by him. And, in terms of before we get any further, I guess the question is, do you have any sort of points update for us?
Yeah, I think I do. It actually panned out pretty nicely in terms of where everybody finished. A couple of changes from the initial 8. So obviously Matthew Baker, he was in before tonight with the 5 wins and the win last week. Michael Triscaro wins his way in tonight. Garrett Maines, he was locked in before the night started pretty much. So he is in. Andrew Navarro appears to be in as well. Logan York did enough to race his way in tonight, according to my points. So too did Brock Westmoreland, Jason Maines, and Jeff Merck. So I believe the 35-point second place finish for Merck is just enough to squeeze him in the playoffs. So the drivers out. Here are the 8 that do not make it. Mike Davenport, Matt Lee, JR Miller, Jared Haynes, Nash Brambilla, Kenny and Chris McCullough, and Trevin Osborne. So unofficially, that's your playoff 8 headed to next week.
All right, so that will wrap up our coverage then here tonight. What a night it was, and what a race it was. What a win it was for Michael Triscaro. That'll do it for me, Austin Green, and Dawson Wise here on PGR eSports. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a good night.